Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of my 2018 beauty favorite series. I feel like I'm saying it at the start of every one of these videos. I probably sound like a broken record. If you are new here, this is essentially a breakdown of all of my favorite products, my most used, most loved, most, reached for, just the best of the best products that I discovered or, just used throughout the year of 2018. So in the last year, I break these down into separate videos, so separate categories, so that you guys can just watch the ones that you were interested in and you don't have to, sit through an hour-long video, basically. In today's video, we are doing eyeshadow palettes. So I've got I've tried to condense this as much as I possibly can. I feel like 2017 was really the year of the eyeshadow palette. And I also feel like every brand brought out like a million. Does anyone else feel like that? I miss single shadows. Can we bring single shadows back? So much better. Build your own palette. And throughout the year, I did test a lot of different eyeshadow palettes. The ones that I've got here are just the ones that I absolutely adored the most and the ones that I continually use the most. Now, they're all new ones sort of ish that I discovered this year, except for one, and one of them, maybe two of them actually. And it's just my ride or die holy grail and I can't stop using it. And if you've been here on my channel for a while, you probably already know what it is. But yes, if you are interested in learning about the best eyeshadow palettes from 2018, please keep on watching. Now, the tricky thing about this video is eyeshadow palettes are such a personal preference and I always gravitate towards more warm tone shadows or shadow palettes that sort of have like a bit of both and a little bit of color in them. If you are strictly a cool tone person, this is not going to be the video for you. I very, very, very rarely will, become obsessed with a palette that is purely cool tones only. I like a really good balance of both, or I kind of tend to lean more towards the warm tone ones. So just a little disclaimer. Okay. First up, I've got this little guy from Wet n Wild. This is the Wet n Wild Color Icon Rose in the Air eyeshadow palette. 2018 was actually my year of but really testing the Wet n Wild brand properly. And I've honestly really enjoyed the majority of their products. They're really, really nicely made. I cannot believe how much I use this little palette. So it's a little palette. It's actually majority matte. It's only got it's only got two shimmers. So this sort of like gold color here and this, it's not, what would you call that? It's like a berry-ish. It's really a chocolate brown with a bit of berry through it. They're the only two shimmers in the palette. This is a mostly matte palette, but oh my goodness, these mattes blend like an absolute dream, especially for something that is so ridiculously affordable. So this is what it looks like up close. I really love that this one does have a really nice mix of cool tones and warm tones. You've got some really nice cool tone blending shades, warm tone blending shades, and then some beautiful rich colors to really work up a deep, dark, smoky eye. It's really pigmented. It's really long lasting on the lids. It's really easy to blend. Like, as far as an eyeshadow palette goes, this one it ticks all the boxes for me and it's so affordable. So anything that's like not going to cost me an arm and a leg, I'm down for. Second up, I've got this palette from Colourpop. This was actually a collaboration with Kathleen Lights. This is the Dream Street palette. I have been absolutely head over heels obsessed with this since I tried it the first time. It is such a beautiful palette. First up, the external packaging. It's honestly gorgeous. I'll just show you close up really quickly. Like, it's got this beautiful metallic detailing to it. It's honestly stunning. It's obviously super affordable. Colourpop's a super affordable brand. It's small, it's neat, it's compact. It's just really, really nice packaging. Now, you're going to have to excuse the fact that mine is a little banged up. I travel with this all the time. Surprisingly, it hasn't smashed, so I feel like I'm fairly rough with it. But this is what the inside of this palette looks like. Now, like I said, mine is absolutely filthy, but it is just the most beautiful mix of quite sort of different colors to see in a palette, and somehow it just works. Like, a lot of eyeshadow palettes like this, like especially ones with a pop of color, a lot of the time, you use maybe all of the shadows in the palette except for like 2 or 3 because you're like, well, I'm not into those colors. They're not colors that I would wear, so you just don't use them. But the way that the colors are mixed in this palette and the way that they're blended and the different textures and finishes, you can create countless looks with this and never get bored of it. Like, it's just so beautiful. So we've got a mixture of mattes. So sort of these 2 here, these 3 here, and then these bottom 2 in the middle. This is technically a shimmer, but it's essentially a satin matte. They're your matte shades, and then you've got shimmers. So these 2 up the top are more like pinky coppery foil kind of shimmers. I'll show you, they're gorgeous. They're like pinky rose gold, coppery, beautiful foiled shades. There, and I mean this one here, that's a straight up sort of a shimmer as well, but then you've got a gorgeous duochrome shadow as well, and then a deep, like shimmery, like deep teal, and oh my god, it's like the prettiest thing. So there are those two there, the teal and then the duochrome. It doesn't look very duochrome on my finger, but when you layer it over the top of other shadows and blend it onto the skin, it's got the most beautiful duochrome finish. It's like pink that kind of shifts with a green. Oh, it's just stunning. Like, Colourpop and Kathleen Lights did so well on this palette. I absolutely cannot recommend it anymore. Very easy to blend, very pigmented, great formula, great price. Like, you cannot go wrong with this. Okay, next up, the Desert Oasis palette by BH Cosmetics. Again, I've just been absolutely head over heels obsessed with this palette since it released. It's not only an eyeshadow palette, it's also a highlighter palette as well. Beautiful packaging again, you know, very sleek. It feels like good quality. A lot of the time when you buy really affordable brands, you're like, oh, well, I can tell that this is, you know, really affordable. It feels like crap kind of a thing. Really heavy, smooth, nice. Like, I'm a sucker for packaging. I'm so finicky about packaging. And I'm like 9 out of 10 times more likely to buy a product if I love the packaging. Like, it just makes me excited. Packaging is huge when it comes to makeup. So yes, beautiful packaging. Now, beautiful colors, obviously. Now, this one does come with a mirror. So you've got a really, really, really generous sized mirror up the top here. We all know how crappy the lighting is in like hotel bathrooms and things like that. Like, palettes need to have a mirror because you need to be able to do it, like do your eyeshadow and your whole makeup look anywhere. And then this is the inside of this one. It is absolutely stunning. Hopefully you can actually see the colors fairly well on camera. So on this side, we've got all of the highlighting shades and they're so pigmented. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, as far as formulation goes, they have absolutely killed it with this one. And then you've got all of your shadows on this side kind of a thing. Again, a mixture of textures and finishes. You've got matte. I also really love in this palette, they've done the two transition shades of the palette in much larger pans. So this one here, Canyon, and then this one here, June. Like, they're the typical shades that people will use through the crease and just use the most consistently and the most, like, overall. And they've made them in bigger pans because you always hit pan in shadow palettes on colors like that because you use them the most. Just think it's really clever and innovative. A lot of really, really rich shimmers. You've got pops of color. You've got a copper. Then you've got like sort of more bronzy shades. This one here is actually a duochrome shadow cactus and prickly pear. Beautiful shimmery taupey kind of a brown. There's those two there. And actually, I'll show you the blue in this palette because it is insane. When I originally reviewed this palette, I did an eyeshadow look using this blue and everyone was like, what is on your lids? And I was like, guys, it's literally the most affordable eyeshadow palette ever. The formula is absolutely beautiful. Again, so easy to blend. The shimmers work on the lids without having to use like a glitter glue or a sticky primer. You can pack them on with your fingers. You can use a brush. The mattes blend out absolutely effortlessly. You know, the highlighters work really, really well. It is just all around an absolutely stunning palette and I have used it so much. Definitely one of my favorite releases for 2018. And then lastly, for the affordable palettes, I have this big sucker from Morphe. I can't remember off the top of my head if this was released this year or if it was released at the end of last year. It's the 24G Grand Glam palette. It was like the first palette that Morphe released when they redid their packaging and it's so much nicer than it was before. I just really, really love the formula in this particular palette. Very, very, very easy to blend. Like, it is the ultimate palette for beginners because it's just so easy to use. Does that make sense? Really nice mix of colors. Majority warm tone. I mean, you guys, I said it earlier. I'm a sucker for warm tones. I love warm tones. You can create cool tone looks with this depending on what shadows you choose, but obviously from looking at it, it's a very, very warm tone. They're so pigmented. They're so blendable. The shimmers are really rich. The mattes are so, like, they're not, I prefer a matte to be kind of like quite powdery, not powdery as in, you know, creates a hot mess all over your face, but not too much pigment. Like, it's got to be the right balance of pigment and powderiness and fluffiness in a shadow so that it really blends easily and seamlessly through the crease. And this one's got a really, really nice mixture of both of those qualities. And I really love the color layout, like the color range. Like, I was super impressed with this, and I feel like Morphe upped their game as far as their shadow formula with this one as well. I found this to be very, very different in terms of, you know, like performance and, you know, just blendability and wear time on the eyes, I just found it a lot better than a lot of their other palettes. I didn't not like their other palettes. I still really enjoyed the other palettes, especially for the price because they're so affordable. But this was like on another level. Really, really liked this one. All right, moving on to the more expensive, sort of higher end-ish palettes, I guess you could say. I've got two here that I'm going to show you now that were actually in last year's best palettes of the year. And I honestly don't think any of you are going to be surprised by this. First up, the Too Faced Sweet Peach eyeshadow palette. You guys, this thing is still my absolute most used eyeshadow palette out of like all of them. Like literally every single palette in this video, I still use this one like at least 2 to 3 times more than all the others. Like there's just something about this palette. I love it so much. First up, it's scented like peach, and I love the scent of this. Like a lot of people hate, you know, scented sort of products. I love scented products, and this is a beautiful soft sort of a peach scent, but these are all the shades in this palette, and I just, you know, I seem to be able to create every single look using just this one palette alone. It's got lights, it's got deeps, it's got shimmers, it's got mattes. It's more of like, the colors in this one are sort of like, they're softer. They're softer purples. You've got a really, really soft sort of like a green color here, like a plum. And if I'm feeling like, okay, I need to do my makeup, I need to know that it's going to look good, that it's going to look flattering, that it's going to work out really well, I just always seem to go for these. I love the pigmentation. I love the blendability. I love the shimmers. I love the mattes. Like, this is still my most used palette. I just cannot stop using it. I'll show you a couple of swatches of the shades in this. Nectar, I wish to God that they would bring this out like as a single shadow. It is the most amazing shadow just on the brow bone, on the inner corner. So pretty. Another of my most used shades is Caramelized. This sort of like medium. It's different to a lot of other browns out there because it's kind of got like a different undertone to most browns. Like it's really, really pretty. Sort of, it's nearly like a little yellowy. Hopefully you can see it on camera. You might not be able to. Another color I used a lot is Candied Peach. Candied Peach is like this orange, it's like an orange matte. And I mean, this finger's dirty, so that's not a very good, hang on, I'll swatch it on another finger. My fingers get stained when I do these swatch videos. There are those 3 shadows there. Like honestly, you can create the quickest, most flattering smoky eye using just those 3 shades alone. This one here through the crease, the brown one to make up the smoke and deepen it, and then this one on the inner corner and the brow bone. I just can't stop using this. I love this palette. Continues to be my most loved. And second up, I have the Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette. This was in my favorites last year, and it is still my most reached for palette when I want a really, really shimmery look. So this palette is majority like quite, it's a very different sort of shimmer formula. It's like a molten, it's like a liquid metal kind of formula. So this is what this one looks like. There's a really nice mixture of colors in this. Pops of color, your neutrals, your antique golds, your rich golds, your bronzes, your silvers. It's got everything. And then I also love that this one comes with 4 matte shades. So over on this side of the palette, you've got 4 matte shades. You've got a matte sort of light bone color to set down the lid, set down the brow bone. You've got a transition shade, you've got a deeper transition shade, and then you've got a black. And as far as an eyeshadow palette goes, like if I've got all 4 of those shades and then a mixture of other, you know, whatever finish they are, I can create any look with that palette, and with this palette you certainly can. Again, I'll show you some swatches. The chocolate gold in this, like, it's just the most incredible formula. I actually find this to be a very different formula to a lot of their other eyeshadow palettes. I don't know, the metallics in this are just so much richer. They're just so pigmented and easy to work with. I love them. All right, next up, the Anastacio Soft Glam palette. They did release a lot of palettes this year, and this by far was my most favorite and is still my most used palette of all of the releases. This is actually probably, other than the Resi palette that they did like years and years and years and years ago, I flogged that one. Like I loved it, used it to death. But this is probably my most used palette from the brand, like overall. A lot of people are obsessed with Modern Renaissance, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't love it. This is what this one here looks like. It is just so easy to use. It is so easy to pair every single shade in this palette together and just come up with really flattering, quick, simple, beautiful eyeshadow looks. I must admit, I'm not a fan of the packaging. They just, it's a felt and they just get filthy. Like you use it once and it looks like it's been, you know, bashed around for a year. Like I don't like it. So a lot of mattes in this palette and a lot of, you know, browns, and you're sort of probably looking at this thinking, well, every other palette has those browns, but there's something about these browns when they blend on the lid that just makes them different. I just find the undertones in these colors to be quite different on the eyes and look quite different on the eyes than many other brands in many other palettes. You can still do cool tone looks with this palette. You've got a cool tone blending color, you've got cool tone pinks, and you've got a cooler tone brown. I have certainly done cool tone looks with this palette, and you know, it came out beautifully. My most favorite shade in this palette is Mulberry. All over the lid as a smoky eye, really pushed into the skin, really smudged in, blown out, and then kind of like smoked out in the outer corner. Takes 2 seconds and it looks stunning. It's like a terracotta, like a deeper, richer, reddy undertone, sort of a terracotta. It's gorgeous. Sultry from this palette's beautiful as well. It's like a really, really nice antique kind of rose gold shimmer. You've got orange soda in this. So this one here, you've got sienna in this. Two of my favorite blending shades. These shades do crop up in a lot of other palettes. Like, I mean, these two shades alone, like, die. I just think it's so stunning. Like, look at this shimmer. It's just absolutely beautiful. It looks so pretty on the skin. And then that's Mulberry swatch next to it, the matte. Like, I just love this palette. I continue to use it. And if I'm wanting to go for like a really like straight up dark nighttime smoky eye look, I seem to always reach for this palette. It's beautiful. All right, next up, the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. I absolutely still love this palette. This palette's really special because it's got so many different colors in it. And essentially the design behind this one was they wanted to, you know, release a palette where you could just create every single look with the one small, compact, easy to travel with palette. That's why it's called Born to Run. It's kind of like designed for traveling. Again, a really, really nice mixture of mattes and shimmers, a really nice mixture of cool tones and warm tones, and a really nice mixture of colors. You've got your greens, your blues, your purples, your coppers, your oranges, your pinks, you've got browns, you've got transition shades, you've got shimmers, a black, like it's literally got everything. I really love the formula of this one. You know, they did really, really particularly well on the shimmers in this one. Like, they're just beautiful. My fingers are so stained at this point, I'm sorry, but look at those shimmers. Like, it looks like they're painted on. There's no chunkiness to them whatsoever. Comes with a big ass mirror in the top of the lid here. It's perfect for traveling. It's compact, very well thought out, very well executed, beautiful formula, easy to blend, easy to apply, really long lasting on the eyes. Great for beginners, definitely great for beginners. If you're sort of new to eyeshadow, this is probably a really good one to go for because it's got everything that you'll need. I just love this so much, and I mean, we are great friends. And then finally, the last palette that I'm going to be showing you guys is this one from Too Faced. And again, you're going to have to excuse, it is literally filthy because I just travel with it so much. This is the Too Faced Just Peachy Matte. So this was released, it only launched here in Australia at the end of this year. I feel like it was maybe October, but I'm pretty sure, you know, most of you guys overseas have had this for quite a while. It's brand new here, kind of. I am absolutely obsessed with this palette. So it's an entirely matte palette. And again, that's not something I usually gravitate towards. I'm usually like, all matte palettes, nah, it's not versatile enough and therefore not worth the money. But this one honestly is. I just cannot believe the formula in this palette. So I have been using this like freakishly, like certainly, I mean, probably not every single day, but certainly like 3 or 4 times a week. And the mattes in this are just, they're so pigmented that you only need such a small amount on your brush and they're so easy to blend. It literally looks like I have not touched any of the pans in this palette. Like, it needs to be cleaned up, but you could look at this palette and be like, that palette is brand new and has never been used. Like, they're so pigmented, and a lot of the time matte shadows can't have too much pigment. Again, it really needs to be the correct blend of, you know, workability in a shadow and pigmentation and payoff in a shadow. You've got to have a mixture of both. You can't have like a pure pigment or like a pure, you know, the other way, because it makes them hard to use. Somehow these are ultra pigmented, but still so freakishly easy to blend. If you want to do an all matte eyeshadow look, if you want to use it as a companion palette to a shimmer, like, you just cannot go wrong with this. And it's so quick and easy to smoke out like a whole eye look. They're really flattering, like peach kind of tone shades. I love it. So here are the swatches close up. Look how filthy my fingers are at this point. Oh my gosh. A mess. I've just used it so much. Like, I just think it's beautiful. And like I said, typically I never like all matte palettes, and I've just used this one so much. And I mean, the packaging, come on. It's like sort of like a embossed, like rubbery feel on the top. You've got a really nice big mirror. I love this and think it's totally worth the money. So there you have it, guys. Those were all of my most loved, most used, most recommended palettes of 2018. I I honestly think that all of these are totally worth it. I think that you will not be disappointed in any of these. You know, they're easy, they're blendable, they're pigmented, they're beautiful colors. There's a really nice mixture of colors. The pricing on all of these is really good as well. Yeah. I've been super impressed with these. So I hope that you guys found today's video helpful. I hope that maybe you got some ideas from it if you are sort of looking into purchasing a new palette. If you've got any questions, as always, please pop them in the comment section down below. I'll be down there, you know, hanging out, answering all of your questions. And yes, pretty much that's it from me. I hope you're having an amazing holiday season. I hope you're having time off, spending time with loved ones and family. And yes, I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!